Hey, what's up? Today I have a different kind of video for you. I have a bunch of smart home devices that are each under 50 bucks. There's actually some really cool things here that I've never tried before. So let's see if there's anything worth adding to your smart home. All right, let's start off first with the Kasa motion dimmer switch, which is 35 bucks, and I feel like that price isn't too bad since you can dim the lights. It has a motion and a light sensor built in. It uses Wi-Fi, so you don't need a hub to set it up. And the app to use this thing is super intuitive to use. You can set when the light will turn on from motion, and if you want it to be bright or dim at night, or not even turn on at all if it was like in a bedroom. I set this up in our hallway, and the motion sensor worked pretty well. I also connected this to SmartThings and Home Assistant, but the motion sensor is not available for automations, which is a little disappointing. But you can control the smart dimmer switch in those apps. This would be great in a hallway, bathroom, or bedroom. And I really want to install this in my kids' bedroom because they're always leaving the lights on when no one's in there. So I could use this motion dimmer switch to turn off the lights from no motion. And it wouldn't accidentally turn on the lights in the middle of the night. So I really like this motion dimmer switch. Next up is this Aqara Cube, and this thing is amazing. It's 20 bucks, and I stumbled across it on Amazon, and I'm so surprised at all the things you can do. You can set up 51 different actions with different gestures with this cube. Yeah, it's crazy. So you can set up things for like shaking, rotating, flipping, and all these different combinations. But I don't know if I would set up all 51 actions because your family might not like it. It uses Zigbee, and some people were able to connect it to SmartThings, but it seemed a little complicated and I wasn't able to figure it out. But I was able to connect it to Home Assistant using a Zigbee dongle, and I had issues with that in the past, but now I'm using a USB extender to plug into the Raspberry Pi, and it works much better. There's also this blueprint you can import into Home Assistant that gives you access to all those 51 different actions, so it's pretty easy. Next up is this Kasa Smart Power Strip. It's 25 bucks, and this is nice if you want to automate some devices that plug into an outlet instead of using a bunch of smart outlets that can be kind of bulky, where this keeps it nice and compact, especially since it has one of those plugs that fit nice and flush against the wall that make it easy to hide behind furniture. I've used these to automate fans underneath my desk, lamps, or I'm going to be using these on my speakers because turning the speakers on and off is really inconvenient, so this will make it much easier. It connects to SmartThings and Home Assistant, and it works really well. All right, here we got a LIFX switch, and this is unlike any other smart light switch I've ever tried. It's $35 or $40 depending on if you're shopping LIFX's store or Amazon, and these buttons on it are really strange. They don't move, but they'll give you a haptic feedback and the button will light up when you press it. Not a huge fan of it, but it is different. The bottom button can control your physical ceiling lights connected to it. It cannot dim the lights, it can only turn them on and off. And the top button can control your LIFX smart lights. And at first I was thinking, this is kind of lame that it only controls LIFX lights. But they just pushed out a firmware update today, and you can do a lot more with it. So now you can import this into HomeKit, and you can control your HomeKit devices with this. You can set what a single, a double press, or a long press can do on either button and trigger different actions in HomeKit. If you use HomeKit and you want a smart button on your wall, this could be a good option. All right, next up we have the Blink doorbell, and this comes in just under 50 bucks. And I'm normally not a big fan of inexpensive doorbells, but this has enough unique features that I think it might be a good fit for some of you. First up, it runs off 2 AA batteries, so you don't need to worry about wiring this thing, and you cannot actually power this with the wires from your existing doorbell. It can only use those wires for the chime, so kind of keep that in mind. It's 1080p. The two-way voice sounds pretty good, but the main issue is the latency. There's about a 3-second delay from what's happening on the doorbell to what you see in the app. So if you're trying to talk to someone, it's going to be a little delayed. The other thing is cloud recordings. You do have to pay $3 a month for cloud recordings if you don't get the Sync Module 2. But if you get the Sync Module 2, you can plug in a flash drive and store all of your local recordings onto that for free. So it does cost an extra $35, which is about a year's worth of cloud recordings. I think it's probably worth it. So it's not even close to the best doorbell you can get, but for the price, the fact that it runs off batteries, and you don't need to pay for cloud recordings using that Sync Module 2, it's a pretty good option. Here we got the Shelly vintage filament bulb, and it's 28 bucks. I first saw this on Paul Hibbert's channel, and I'm never gonna be able to get those sounds out of my head when he was screwing this into the socket. Thanks a lot, Paul. I wasn't sure how I felt about this bulb with the size because it's much bigger than the other smart light bulbs, but the look has kind of grown on me. A lot of people in the comments were saying this would work well with steampunk lamps that you can find on Amazon, and I think that would look pretty cool. The one issue I have with this is that I wasn't able to connect it to the Shelly app using my Android phone. I had to use iOS. So if you have an Android phone, just be aware of that. It works really well with SmartThings and Home Assistant, and if you're looking for a unique bulb, well, this will do it. Here's the Sonoff Smart Light Switch, and this is the TX T2, and it's about $26. This thing is very different than other smart light switches, as you can see by the design, and I was wondering if it would be difficult to tap the light on and off, but it's actually not too bad because you can just use your whole hand and tap the screen and it just turns the light on and off. There's actually 2 buttons underneath this little glass panel, and you can configure it in 1, 2, or 3 configurations. It only takes up the spot of 1 light switch here in the US. So I would only hook this up to 1 physical switch. But the reason I got this is 2 is so I could use the other button as a smart light switch. So I connected this to Home Assistant using hacks, and it integrates pretty well. And now I can use that other button to control a smart light in the hallway, which is kind of cool. Or I could just run automations or whatever I want. And I love how this light switch looks and the fact that it's so flexible with those other buttons to control other smart devices or automations. Well, that about does it. All the links to everything will be down in the description, and thanks for watching. Whoa, what's this?
Well, she said you weren't using it anymore, so she took it.
Hey, let me in.
Sorry, Dad. No payment, no entrance.
Hey, what's going on here? Hey, wait, that's my cube. Hey.